What's good, everybody? Welcome into Inside the Green Room with
Shit.
Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford. Thank you guys for tuning in. Do us a big favor. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you also read, rate, and subscribe, review, all those good things to keep this show on the road and keep supporting us. Also on Instagram at Inside Green Room and on Twitter as well as Green Room Inside. And don't forget, you could also find us on YouTube as well. As we get some insights from Danny, we have a lot to discuss today because so much has happened in the NBA.
Man.
70 burgers, dudes getting fired, and also it is rivalry week in the NBA. So much to discuss. Let's get right down to the nitty gritty. Danny's former coach, Doc Rivers, is now the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. Adrian Griffin, Danny's former assistant coach, let go from the Milwaukee Bucks. So much has happened. Various reports have said that even Doc Rivers started consulting the team during the in-season tournament. We know the Milwaukee Bucks have been struggling defensively, which is not something that I think the front office expected when they got Adrian Griffin, Danny. However, I don't think they expected to also get Damian Lillard too. So much to unpack. I don't even know where to start outside of your initial reaction to Doc Rivers getting the job and Adrian Griffin being let go.
Well, the initial reaction was shocked that it was happening mid-season. You just hired this guy not even 6 months ago, and he was the choice you chose. And obviously, there are times you make mistakes. You just don't think you would, I wouldn't say, try to fix the mistake this quickly in a season, especially with a win now, sense of urgency type of season, type of team. So I was shocked. I was not shocked at Doc being picked up. There weren't many candidates out there that you can trust and that has the experience. So Doc seemed like the favorable, easy choice to go with. But yes, Adrian and then making the move this quick in the season. Well, not this quick in the season, but this quick in his contract, early in his contract, in his tenure, because I think he signed a 3-year deal. And now they're paying to 3 coaches on payroll at this point with Bud, Griff, and Doc within a span of, let's say, not even a year.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. I mean, the Bucks are definitely shelling out a lot of dollars for their new head coach and for the previous head
For the
coaches.
whole coaching staff.
Yeah, for sure. So Doc Rivers under contract through 26-27, making, as I last saw, $40 million for 3.5 seasons of coaching. Danny, we've talked about this multiple years on this podcast, and you've said it multiple times. It's too much stress coaching. But as you see Doc Rivers get cashed out again of being able to leave the ESPN broadcast booth to go back to the bench and get paid upwards of $10 million a year, are you sure, 100% certain you don't want to be a coach?
Is it worth it? I mean, the dollars that they're getting, it seems like it's worth it, especially at Doc. At his age now, his kids are growing, they're out the house. So that's something to consider when I'm older and my kids are growing and out the house. So yeah, but for me, the stress, the instability, the changing, moving around, even right now, so going from city to city, moving so many cities in the last 7 years, 7, 8 years for me, has been crazy. So I could imagine being with a coach and getting fired, going to another coaching city, going somewhere else. It's just a lot and a lot of stress to worry or rely on other people for your job to stay, secure. So yeah, I know I said never, but seeing what the contracts are, man, you might have to give it a go.
Yeah, so I'm saying they're getting better than the mid-level they're getting better than the mid-level exception out there.
Yeah, we talked about earlier, your boys on FanDuel, and we talked about this, the money that they're spending in coaching. I think it's $18 million in a year for Milwaukee. You can get a pretty damn good player for that money. So yeah, they're spending quite a bit of money on coaching staff, and coaches nowadays are making 10 plus. It's hard to turn that down.
Yeah, for sure. As Danny alluded to, Danny has been appearing on Run It Back on FanDuel with Michelle Beadle as well as Chandler Parsons, I believe Lou Will as well. So make sure you guys check him out there. And Shams Charania, make sure you check him out there. And also you could catch myself, Shams Charania usually appears on Stadium Network on Inside the Association. That's every day, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys check us out there. And obviously, keep tuned to the podcast here. But let's dig a little bit more into this Adrian Griffin situation. So Danny, I'm going to say this. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It feels it feels fishy. It doesn't feel right. Like, first and foremost,
when have ever been anything in the business not been fishy or shiesty or grime? It's a business.
It feels shiesty, bro.
But let's hear it. Let's hear why it's shiesty in your eyes.
Well, first and foremost, like, Doc Rivers coming in as a consultant in December when the team is, still playing good basketball relative to their record, just didn't feel right to me at all. And when you start to, and I don't know, and obviously I have no idea what really happened, but if you have Giannis and Dame and other leaders of the team, they hear Doc Rivers is in the building consulting, then that kind of aura, that type of knowing that is really going to influence me if I'm trying to listen to Adrian Griffin, knowing Adrian Griffin
is
is
getting
not
information,
is getting
getting consulted
information or
by somebody
getting
else.
consulted by somebody else. Like you signed, if Adrian Griffin was the head coach, then let him be the head coach. And once you start bringing in outside influences, especially those with clout, like Doc Rivers, you're only lessening the
You're taking his
viewpoint,
legs
the
from under him.
cliche of what Adrian Griffin could have when you have that type of thing happen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree, but that's the business, bro. We've seen it so many times. It's happened to everybody who's been in it has fall victim to it, or in some sense, or some shape or form. Some more than others, other business parts, but that's how it happens sometimes. And I guess, from my understanding, it said it wasn't because of the record. Obviously, they've been winning, they've been doing well. They're 30-13. They're still top 2 team in the East, one of the top teams in the league. There's a respect factor, and I guess they say he lost the locker room, or guys just didn't, buy into what he was saying or teaching or his principles. That's basically what it boiled down to. And the fact that Doc being around, of course, hearing his name, but there's not many other people that you can choose from, even if you're upset. Like, even if Doc wasn't around and you don't trust this person to win you now, he's a first-time head coach, which you should have taken this into account when you hired him. He doesn't have the experience, but if you don't trust him, even if Doc wasn't around, if you were like, we don't trust him, the guys don't believe in him, they lost the rock room, even though we're winning, we don't trust him in the playoffs because when the game slows down, they don't think he's making the right adjustments. They don't believe in him. We don't like the energy around it. We got to let it go. The whole Terry Stotts situation early in the season was a red flag. There's a couple other red flags. Maybe we don't like how he's handling his staff or handling the players. All these things that we don't know about could be happening behind the scenes are the reason why. Even if you let him go and Doc is not around, who do you go get? Give me some ideas. You're going to get Doc.
You're probably going to get Doc. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if he's around or not. Like, he's the best option out there that we know of. Everybody else has a job. Everybody's been taken up. Jay Kidd, Vogel, Nurse. We have to go to assistant if you're looking for somebody else. Everybody else has a job. Monty, Pop, they're all signed extensions. Spo signed extension. Like, who else you get tips? There's nobody else out there you can think of. Especially with a team like this. Now, if you go with a rebuild situation or a young group, now you can go to a college coach or an assistant or something like that. But win now situation, you need somebody that you can trust that's been there.
Hey, man, I'm just saying, you could have played. You could have played it out with Adrian Griffin for 1 year.
With Dame being his age and Giannis, they only have but such a window. No reason to waste time. If you have the Bucks, go ahead. You have the dollars, no pun intended. If you have the Bucks to do it, to ship out coaches and keep paying coaches, go ahead and do it. The sense of urgency is now.
I'll put you on the hot seat. Steve Kerr's contract is up at the end of the season. The Warriors dynasty might be over. I would have continued with Adrian Griffin.
And then waited for the better pot of coaches.
And then saw what happened in the playoffs. And if it didn't go the way I wanted, hey, Steve Kerr, your contract's up in Golden State. Why don't you come ride with us in Milwaukee? Because as good and as accomplished and as much cliche as Doc Rivers has, we got to keep it real. He has not been successful, or his teams, put it like this. That's the wrong way to say it. He has been successful, but his teams have failed consistently to meet expectations. We're not even talking about exceeding expectations.
Yes.
They have not met expectations, and they have fallen in very, very, very disturbing ways. If I was a fan of the Milwaukee Bucks.
In bad fashion. But to be fair, there were a couple teams that were not fully healthy. The 2 years I was in Philly, I was hurt. I got hurt in the Atlanta series and Miami series as well. We didn't have a full health team. The Clippers haven't always been 100% healthy. Even when he had CP, when they're up against Houston 3-1 or so, he strained a hamstring. There's been situations like that, and they talk about his playoff record. Now, to your point, I agree. If you don't have the sense of urgency and you can wait, it's not only Steve Kerr. You're going to have a plethora of coaches to choose from in the summertime because not only there's going to be a lot of coaches. The Washington coaches got fired as well, and they're going to look for a replacement. Obviously, this is going to start, let me say, the trend, but it's opened up the floodgates of if people are not happy with the coaches, they could fire mid-season. But yeah, Steve Kerr would have been an option. I don't know if that's the guy that they wanted to choose, but I'm sure that if the other coaches don't meet their expectation, they will be fired as well, and they'll wait till the summertime. You'll have more options in the summertime if you waited. So yes, to your point, you would have a better pick of the litter if they waited 4 or 5 more months.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I would have done. You got to give Adrian Griffin a little bit of a break, in my opinion, because when they signed him up, and mind you, he did an individual interview with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo, if I remember the reporting correctly, did an individual interview with Nick Nurse and with Adrian Griffin. And overall, at the end of the day, the Bucks decided to go with Adrian Griffin. And I'm sure Giannis had some type of influence on that decision making. So if you were happy with him at that point, let's remember when Adrian Griffin was hired, Damian Lillard was not on the roster. It was Drew Holiday. And if there was one thing about Adrian Griffin, or we believed about Adrian Griffin, was that he was instrumental in being successful with that Toronto Raptors defense. Now, it could be on him if he tried to structure the Bucks defense like the Raptors defense, because the personnel is just different. They don't have an OG Anunoby. They don't have a Pascal Siakam. They didn't have long, lanky wing interchangeable defenders. They more have rim protection with Brook Lopez being there and Giannis
they could go out and
being a
get
great
that
help
though.
defender.
They have pieces they can go out and get that. They could have made decisions on adding some of those, but Jake Crowder has been hurt. He has been out. They did make some changes. They lost Grayson Allen. I'm trying to think who else might be over there. That's a lengthy, long, athletic 3-and-D guy that you might have over there. There's not many.
They don't really have any. No. Yeah.
So the wings, they're lacking on the wings. I know a guy, but there's a couple guys out there that you could probably go get. But it's tough. So given that it's a different type of setup. They do have a similar group that they had in the past, minus one guy. You should not drop that drastically defensively, and a lot of it is effort. And that's where a lot of people, that's where they're saying the respect factor and the effort, they're not giving him the respect or putting the effort that they would if it was somebody else that was coaching them. That's what most people are assuming. So yes, they could go out and get some people. They should go out. They don't have the same roster. They don't have the same defensive roster, but they do have enough to play better defense than what they are currently.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, you do what you got to do if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. I understand it. But the other reason why I would have waited too, again, there could have been more options, and Doc Rivers' failures in the playoffs are unavoidable. You can't not omit that. But also too, if you just look at the coaching pool could be better. And you never know what Adrian Griffin could have progressed to over time. It wasn't too long ago where we heard reports that LeBron James wasn't happy with Eric Spoelstra. Now we look at Eric Spoelstra as one of the best coaches in the NBA. So I don't know Adrian Griffin personally, but I feel like he got the short end of the stick. I would have waited it out. If it was going to fail, let it fail on his behalf. Because let's keep it real here, Danny. The Bucks win the first round. They get to the second round, good series, and they win. They get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they lose to the Boston Celtics with Doc Rivers. I would have thought the same thing might have happened with Adrian Griffin. Is he going to be able to make that much of a difference? Is he going to take them from Eastern Conference Finals to NBA Finals? And on top of that, another thing to think about.
Not. I will say this, though. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But the other thing, this is the thought I really wanted to express. Damian Lillard is under contract. Giannis Antetokounmpo signed a contract extension this season. So even it's not even like Giannis could say, I want out, or Dame could say, I want out. No, you interviewed this coach, you wanted him, and you're under contract. You can't force your way out of here even if you wanted to. We're not doing that. You're Giannis Antetokounmpo. You're expected to be a star and be on the court. We're not. If Giannis,
you should have made him live with it. I get the front office should have made him live with it.
Yeah, but he didn't sign. If he didn't sign an extension, fine.
He obviously gets what he wants. There's a lot of things going on there that people question. Why is this there? Why is this happening? Why, and we don't want to point out certain things. But I think the reason why, instead of making him live with it, not only do they don't want the situation they had last year where they're losing in the first round to Miami Heat because outcoached. And I'm not saying Bud got outcoached, but possibly that's what they felt. They did have injuries. He had situations going on off the court. He had lost family members. People were sick. A lot of things were happening, but that's what they're presenting themselves for. And I think that's the route that they thought they were on. The path that they were on was if we continue with this guy, we're going to get embarrassed again in the first round to a Miami Heat or a New York Knicks
Pacers.
or Indiana Pacers, a team that we have no business losing to. And the Indiana Pacers were kicking their most of this year, and they did not take that lightly. So they were like, you know what? We don't trust this. Yes, it's worth, obviously, sometimes you don't need to tell you I told you so or make somebody, it's worth letting it go, trying to fix the mistake now and stop being embarrassed, not just embarrassing your star players, but embarrassing the organization, the group as a whole before it happens in playoff time. And I think that's what they thought, because the East has gotten a lot better. I was talking about this earlier on Run It Back, just how strong the East was. We listed our starters in the East, we listed our starters in the West. Like, the East team is demonstrative, is very strong, and the East team, like, not just the starters and the all-stars, but the reserves. It's like that's going to be a bloodbath for both sides of who we're picking. The West for sure is going to be a bloodbath. But when you look at the teams that are playing well, even though the Cleveland Cavaliers had some ups and downs, injuries, they were in an 8-game winning streak. They're playing well. They're a team that can shock you in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? You can't take them lightly. Miami, you always got to respect them. They're making a move with Terry Rozier. The Knicks have been playing unbelievable since the trade of OG. You know what I'm saying? Philly is always there. So you got Nick Nurse over there, and you get out coach. If you match up on any of these teams, you never know what's going to happen with injuries. Philly could drop to 4 or 5, whatever, and maybe end up with 3. They end up matching them in the first round or second round. You get one of those exits. That's not something you can. That's not a pill you want to swallow. You know what I'm saying? By saying live with this coach because you chose him.
I will tell you this. It is going to be loud and disruptive if this Milwaukee Bucks team ends up losing before the Eastern Conference Finals and isn't competitive in the Eastern Conference Finals, because you have
100%.
You have the somewhat of the embarrassment of trading away Drew Holiday, not realizing he was going to end up on your biggest rival in the conference. That's a flop, in my opinion. Now you've hired 3 coaches now in the span of, you've had 3 coaches under your helm for the past year. It's just not going to look. And then obviously,
if they lose in the second round, it's going to be really bad. It's going to be ugly.
It's going to be really.
But
I mean,
I think
they
Doc
won't get it.
They said, you know what, we can make this change now. Doc for sure will get us to the second and third round. Like, we'll have at least a third round. You know,
we'll see,
exit.
because all the celebratory vibes and all of the respect and all of the, I wish Dame had a team, I wish he had some help that he was getting to Portland, that's dead now. He's going to have to perform, not just offensively, but defensively. Giannis being seen as the leader of the franchise for ending up having a coach fired under his helm, not just Adrian Griffin, Mike Budenholzer as well. If he doesn't perform in the playoffs, he's gonna get a lot of negative attention that he's never gotten before. And then, of course, Doc Rivers, as celebrated as he might be, we all know what happens in the playoffs with him in terms of how people treat him and they talk about him. So those 3 guys are under immense pressure that they probably never even experienced before.
For sure, 100%. Doc has experienced it. Dame is his first time experiencing it. But this change, I think, gives them a little bit of grace period. And it's like, because we made a coaching change, we're not expecting you to win this year, but for sure next year. So obviously there's pressure. I don't know, their fans are a little different than LA fans, New York fans. They're not that, they're different from Philly fans. So I'm sure the Bucks fans, they do want to win now. They want to see them at least in the Eastern Conference Finals, if not the finals. But because of the coaching change and things drastic, and still guys trying to fill each other out, get a rhythm, they're going to give them a little grace period and be like, all right, if things don't end the way it's supposed to, then like, look, they're going to blame it on the fact that it was a mid-season coaching change, which gives them some time. But like I said, if they have it 2 years in a row this summer, if they lose this summer or this spring and next spring,
and they don't win next year,
it's gonna be really loud then. But they're gonna give them some grace period. The change gives them some time.
We'll see how they get treated. I'm very curious. It's interesting. I feel like for the first time in Giannis's career, you used to watch wrestling, Danny. I think Giannis might end up turning into a heel. Like, he's always been celebrated. This might be the first time where he could enter into a level of criticism and bad guy persona that he's maybe not even ready for, because there are people who are going to give him some heat.
It depends. And I just don't see it happening, because Giannis has always performed. He does what he's supposed to do, whether it's regular season or playoffs, and he always shows up. Now, other guys may not. He's always been consistent. Now, obviously, his free throws have been a certain thing that they question of why they win and lose games, but his effort unmatched. It never changes. He's going to give you a triple double. He's going to get points in the paint. He's going to draw fouls. He's going to get free throws. He's going to make plays for his teammates. It's really upon now the criticism. Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, who you guys paid and traded for Damian Lillard. Those are the guys that they're going to be looking at. Who's not performing the way they're supposed to be performing? Because we just paid you guys again, and we just traded for you to play winning basketball and win this thing, and we brought you here so you could get us a championship. Which one of you guys is not doing your part?
Should be a very interesting watch for the remainder of the season out there in Milwaukee. As Danny referenced, he talked about the All-Star game, and obviously that is the starters are going to be named on Thursday, and then we'll have the announcement of the reserves on Thursday, February 1st, which is not too far away from the trading deadline. So when we come back from break, we're going to discuss all of those things: All-Star starters, trading deadline, and also look back at Joel Embiid's 70-point masterpiece. What an absolute game he had. Who might be next to drop another 70-piece in the NBA? We discuss that when we come back from break. And we are back on Inside the Green Room. Danny Green, Harrison Sanford.
Sure.
You guys already know the vibes. Time to run a little pick and roll, and we'll talk about things that we saw over the past week that have captured our attention. And number one, at least on my list, Danny, Joel Embiid. 70-piece on the San Antonio Spurs. This is after walking past Victor Wembanyama during the pregame and kind of being shocked by how much taller Victor Wembanyama is than him. But Joel Embiid was absolutely spectacular. 21 of 40 from the field. And it didn't even feel like he was forcing it going into the fourth quarter. He was on record telling his teammates, just let it come in the flow of the game. And there was a chance he didn't even have to get back out there, but the Spurs did keep it a game, so he had to get back out there. He was tremendous. No, there's no other way around it. What was your reaction to seeing it happen?
I was watching it actually in dinner, and I was like, damn, he's on pace to get 70. Before I was like, he's going to get like 60, 70. And I think he had, was it something for 34, 40 at half? I knew he was going to get the free throws. But yeah, my first reaction was, he's a bully. You know, he's a bully. And I was wondering if they were going to double team. I guess they did when Wemby was off the floor, but I don't know if they double teamed him while Wemby was on the floor. But it was a fun game. They both, took the matchup, I wouldn't say personally, but they took it as a fun, challenge. Wemby played a great game, even though they did lose, and Philly's just a better team. But Joel had a hell of a game, and he made a lot of shots, made a lot of free throws, and he put it together, man. It was a good one. And to me, it was like the things that he was doing is like, you can do this damn near all the time. Maybe not average or score 70, but when you're bullying people, you could really bully people if you wanted to. No matter if they're double team or triple teaming you, you can dive deep down into the paint, bully somebody, put your shoulder in the chest, dunk the ball, or seal them really deep in the paint and be as close as possible whenever you want it. So whenever he decides to do that, I said which he kind of does, but he was unstoppable that night, and it's because he just put his mind to it. Like, you know what, I'm just gonna impose my will in the game and on the paint, and he did that.
Yeah, I want to get to this question that we have about him potentially being the best scorer in the NBA. But one of my first reactions, Danny, to seeing the 70-piece by the end of it, I said to myself, you know what? It's going to be a damn shame if Joel Embiid doesn't win the MVP award this year because he only plays 64 games. If you guys don't know, the NBA instituted a rule for this season and going forward. In order to qualify for all the awards, MVP, All NBA First Team, Defensive Player of the Year, XYZ, you must play a minimum of 65 games. And Joel Embiid has already missed more than a handful of games so far this year. So there is a chance, Danny, regardless of how well he's played, regardless of how well he's put the 76ers in position without James Harden being there, despite the fact he dropped a 70-piece, he could not get MVP. He might not even be able to be on the MVP ballot because he might not play 65 games. I understand the rule. I like the thought behind the rule. I understand what the NBA and the NBPA agreed to do with this rule, but damn, would that be a shame if Joel Embiid misses the cut.
If he's averaging 35 a game and he has 64 games, it'd be absurd to him not win an award for it. But I think they'll have some type of grace. Like I said, you can protest or something with the games that you missed. I think they need to change it to 62, at least allow 20 games. But even then, somebody made a point, if he doesn't win the MVP, it's not like it's a big drop off. There's still Nikola Jokic, who is a really damn good player, and SGA. Shai is killing, man. He's doing his thing. Those guys are very much willing, and if not Giannis, there's a couple other guys that are really good, deserving of it. But obviously, Joel, the way he's playing, he should definitely have the award back to back, and they should give a couple games of a grace period of like, you
Grace.
know what, at least you're close to the 65. It's not 58 or 59. If you're in the 60s, at least above 61. If you're 62-ish, it should be like, okay, 62, 63. You miss it by 2 or 3 games. You know what? We'll make an exception.
What if Joel Embiid gets to, and here's the crazy thing too, like, what if Joel Embiid gets to 64 games, right? They've already clinched the 3 seed or something,
Mm-hmm.
or clinched the 2
And there's a rest.
seed.
I knew you were gonna go with this. And there's like a rest
He
game.
could, and he should rest, right? They've
They
clinched
could do it
home
with
court.
Mikal Bridges. Brooklyn can bring him in, start him, play him for 5 minutes, sit his ass down, or just Draymond Green. They came in, he fouled the guy, sit down. He played, so
Yeah.
he can still rest. But as long as he enters that game and collects a couple of seconds or a minute or so and is on that floor, it serves as a game played.
Yeah, I understand that.
Could hurt the stats. It'll definitely drop his points.
It definitely drop his points. But for me, I'm one of those people who like to do not per game. I like to do points per minute. I like to evaluate guys per 36 minutes. I think that's a better evaluation. But it is what it is. So I've thought this way for a while, particularly when you started playing with the Sixers. I thought Joel Embiid was a top 5 player in the league, and even when he started to go off, when Ben Simmons was doing the Ben Simmons stuff, disappearing and stuff, I said to myself, bro, this guy might not, he's looking like the best player in the league, and he's looking like the best scorer in the league, because he's got, from a big man perspective, he's got everything you want, and then on top of that, he can hit threes. My question for you, Danny, you need one bucket, and it could end up getting to and this could result in somebody getting to the free throw line too. You need a bucket, though, to win a game. Let's say you're down by one. You're down by 24 seconds on the shot clock. End of the game. Are you taking Joel Embiid, or are you taking the field?
I'm gonna take Joel Embiid. There's other guys in the field that are very much a bucket, and you can go for. But I'm very confident in Joel not only getting a basket, but at least getting to the free throw line. And it depends on who's guarding, where he's catching it. Obviously, I would love to have him catch it on the block, if not closer, and instead of the elbow or 3-point line. But if we get a post up on Joel Embiid and it's a one-on-one situation, or if we draw up a play where he can go quick and get a score without waiting for a double team, I'm pretty confident he's going to get you 2 points or get to the free throw line, and he shoots it well enough to where he's going to make you both free throws.
Yeah, dude is an absolute menace right now, and I think having Nick Nurse there, not having James Harden there, which is forcing him to be a better passer, better facilitator, is only taking his game to newer levels. And already last year, he was at the MVP level. And arguably for the last 2.5, 3 years, he's been at the MVP level. So kudos to him. All right, let's go to topic number 2 in this pick and roll. Terry Rozier is now a member of the Miami Heat. We could spend some time later on breaking that down. But real quick, in that trade, Kyle Lowry ended up getting traded off to the Charlotte Hornets. Now, there's some teams that might want to trade for Kyle Lowry, even though he's pretty expensive. It is an expiring deal, but there feels to be a lot of momentum behind Kyle Lowry ending up on the buyout market. There are a multitude of teams that could use a guard off the bench like Kyle Lowry, who has championship experience. Give me one destination, one spot only, Danny, that you think Kyle Lowry would be great as a buyout candidate. Mind you, being over the second apron, a team like the Phoenix Suns, the Milwaukee Bucks, I believe they cannot get Kyle Lowry in a buyout. They would have to do it via trade, and I don't think they would have the assets to even trade for that, or want to give away the assets to trade for Kyle Lowry. So it's more the buyout teams, Philadelphia.
Why can't they get him in a buyout? Why can't they get him in a buyout team?
Danny, it's the second apron.
If they waive somebody, if they get whatever roster spot,
that's the rules. Here's the Suns, Bucks, and Clippers. They all cannot sign Kyle Lowry because they are over the first. They're over the second luxury tax apron. And that was the rule that was instituted this past offseason. When you're above the second apron, you can't use the minimum level exception. You have to specifically match salaries. You can't send out money in a trade to make the money even. It's very restrictive, and this is one of the restrictions where you can't sign guys off the buyout.
Okay.
So
well, I didn't have any of those teams anyway. So the
right,
team I have 2 teams. I can't give you one, but I have one team. But there's 2 teams. It depends on Kyle and where his mindset is. Is he
Okay.
still trying to play more basketball after this? Is he just trying to retire after this? Is this his farewell? If it's a farewell, let him get back to Toronto, finish out the career,
Mm.
and retire Raptor. If not, if he wants to still play, obviously I would assume either way he wants to play meaningful basketball, but play another year or so after this, I'm gonna go with Philly. You know, they need a back. I love Pat Bev. He's great defensively for them, but offensively, you need somebody to set the table. I'm not saying he can't do it. I just think you need a better, backup for Tyrese in terms of offensive setting the table. Pat is more of a
Mm.
defensive guy. He's more of a intangibles guy. Junk up the game, mess up guys, and do the little stuff, the dirty work. Kalo could do that too, but I think offensively, you need a guy that can set the table, and I think Kalo is the guy that they said they need a backup center in my eyes and a backup point guard. He's from Philly, went to Villanova. What better place for him to come back home and either play there and finish his career, or just play there for this year before retiring a Raptor?
Yeah, I think that could be a good option. There could be a bit. I mean, obviously, he has familiarity with Nick Nurse for sure. That could help. That
Hmm.
might, in my opinion, that might be a little bit of an overlap, particularly not just with Maxey, but obviously DeAnthony Melton is there as well. But you're right, he could be a great playmaker for that team. I personally, maybe this is just a little bias in me, but I think he could team up with his other Villanova alumni
Of
with the
course,
New
all the
York
damn
Knicks.
Nova, all
You
the
know what I'm
Nova
saying?
cats
All
in
the
the Knicks.
Nova
Come on, man.
guys with the New York
You might as well
Knicks.
get Mikal Bridges too. Jesus, like get all the Villanova guys you can find in the league and just put them on the Knicks. Okay.
I think he would be a great fit there. Obviously, they traded away Emmanuel quickly in order to get OG Anunoby, and OG has been a great fit for them. But they need a backup point guard. Deuce McBride has played well, but I think if you are a member of the New York Knicks fan base, you don't know how much you could trust Deuce McBride in the playoffs. And Kyle Lowry, because of his ability to also play off the ball at times, could potentially fit with Jalen Brunson on the court as well. So we'll see how that kind of works out. It'd be interesting. Nonetheless, with the trading deadline, though, Danny, being on February 8th, so we're not too far away from it, it made me think we've had so many trades that have happened so far this season. I mean, the OG
Hmm.
Anunoby trade, the Pascal Siakam trade. Let's not forget, there was a trade for Damian Lillard, obviously, to go to the Milwaukee Bucks, which led to Drew Holiday eventually ended up getting traded from the Boston
James Harden
Celtics.
trade.
Oh yeah, the James Harden trade, and now Drew Holiday with the Boston Celtics. So many trades have happened, Danny. What is the best trade we've seen so far this season?
For me, I think you have to go with the teams that have worked out, and I'm gonna go with the Boston trade.
Yeah.
Getting Drew Holiday, they're the number one in the East. They're playing really well. They lost some depth, but they're the best team in the East right now. Even though said Milwaukee lost Drew, and now they're number two behind Boston. But we'll see. It still remains to be seen what they're gonna do maturity wise. With Joe Mazzulla there in the playoffs. But I think there's my other team in the West would be the Clippers. Nobody's seen or expected them to be rolling the way they are. They have made themselves contenders by getting James Harden. And then Russ taking the backseat and doing what he's doing, bringing his energy to the game and playing the role off the bench. Ty Lue has got them playing unbelievable basketball. They've been winning. Kawhi's been healthy. PG's been healthy. So if they stay healthy, they definitely had one of the best trades of the year with them in Boston that have panned
Yeah,
out.
I'm gonna go. Well, let's talk about this Drew Holiday trade first, because I'm looking at the details now, and actually, the Portland Trailblazers didn't make out too bad. Now, yes, Robert
Hmm.
Williams III, the Time Lord, is injured for the rest of the season. We don't know what he's going to come back like, so there might be some sunken value there. But Malcolm Brogdon, who has been playing well for them, is probably going to net them another draft pick, more than likely, if they decide to let him go, and they probably will, so they can give Scoot Henderson more of a freedom to be the leader of that team. But in that trade as well, a 2029 unprotected first-round pick from the Boston Celtics, which by that point, 2029, they're probably still going to be a very good team. Jason Tatum's not going anywhere for a while. But also in that trade, Danny, the Portland Trailblazers also got a 2024 unprotected first-round pick from the Golden State Warriors. And the way the Golden State Warriors are playing right now, that's a lottery. That's going to be a lottery pick, Danny.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
get Malcolm Brogdon, who you could probably flip for a first-round pick, and you get
Hmm.
the Warriors' first-round pick, which is probably going to be in the lottery, on top of Robert Williams, who could come back and be a defensive force in this league. That's not a bad trade for Drew Holiday, who was about to approach free
For
agency.
sure.
So that's not a
No,
bad job at all by the
they
Portland
came up.
Trailblazers.
They're about to be the
Yeah.
next OKC if they do what they're supposed to. And they have a lot of pieces they can still move to get more picks outside of Brogdon or a better piece or a better superstar. And my mind is get better drafts, try to get one superstar with the pieces you have, or even try to get bigger, better pieces of role players from like a Brooklyn that has a lot of the same guys. You get that
Hmm.
superstar or get that draft pick that you want, and you surround them with a guy like, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, or a Cam, not Cam Thomas, or Cam Thomas or Cam Johnson or
Johnson.
Mikal
Yep.
Bridges. I know they're not gonna let go of Mikal Bridges, but the other guys that they have over there, they have so many like guys, or Spencer Dinwiddie. You can, and within 2 or 3 years, right, be right back in the playoff conversation.
Yep. Yep. No, I think the James Harden trade is the one for me because it's look at the way the Clippers are playing right now, and with them moving into the new arena next season, a lot of pressure is on this team to validate those season ticket orders to fill out that new arena. And Steve Ballmer and Lawrence Frank have put together a team that has a legit chance to win a title, and having James Harden, the true point guard on the roster, has put them at that level. All right, our last topic here in the pick and roll. It is rivalry week in the NBA, and Danny, I'm gonna keep it a beam with you. I support NBA's initiatives 100%. But there ain't no rivalries in the NBA. We're trying to
No,
make Chet Holmgren versus Wemby a rivalry, and there's a little bit of
it will,
animosity
and
there.
that it might be that one
It
might
might
be
be.
brewing. There was Dylan Brooks, LeBron James. That's the funny one. I wouldn't say as much of a rivalry, but it was funny for
Mm-hmm.
some people. But it was good. Challenge in the playoffs. Those guys challenge each other. Everybody loves to see it. Then there's Luca and Book. That's the one that comes to mind for me. They're trying to do something with Shea and Ant-Man. I don't see it happening. They have too much respect for each other. Joel and Jokic have too much respect
It's
for each other.
too friendly.
Joel and Giannis, though, that's a different one. So I don't know if
Yeah,
it's not a beef. You don't see it publicly. When they play each other, there's a little edgy thing going on. There's some plays, but I think the one that comes to mind for most people, especially when it comes to the playoff, is going to be Book and Luca. And Luca right now he's the wounded animal right now because he had no Kyrie the other night when they played Phoenix. They got whooped on, so it's tough. But when it comes to the playoffs and those teams match up again, it's going to be a fun one to watch.
yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see. I think with them having a big three now, I think it might be a little bit unbalanced.
Well,
The key to rivalry is obviously you got to have animosity, but you also have to have, I think, an even playing field. So
for
even
sure.
with the Wemby and Chet thing, like, yeah, they
There
might
was
hate
one
it.
that yeah, they don't hate each other, but there was one that has dissipated because of trades. There's Memphis and Golden State, and that was
That
the
was
one
the
that
one.
that was the one. But outside
That was
that,
the
go ahead
one.
back to the Chet and Wemby
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, no, but yeah, Chet and Wemby, they're just on two different calibers of teams. The Oklahoma City Thunder are a top 3 team in the West. The Spurs are one of the worst teams in the NBA. So as much as they might not like each other, if I don't feel like when their teams play each other, it's going to be competitive, then it really takes the juice out of the rivalry. The Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies really could have had something. And I could have seen the Memphis Grizzlies in a year like this year trying to dance on the Warriors' grave. But obviously, the Memphis Grizzlies are where they are right now, too. So
Yeah,
it's really not as much fun.
injuries.
Yeah, I hope we get something really spicy that really makes me like gravitate towards it. But as of right now, I still don't see a true rivalry that I grew up watching in the NBA. They're trying to make it happen. We'll see if it happens. I wish Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic didn't get along, but unfortunately, that's not the case. That would have been great. All right, we're gonna get out of here pretty soon. That ends the pick and roll. But before we do that, on Thursday, January 25th, we're gonna get the All-Star starters named. But I want to hear it from Danny's opinion.
The
Who are your
starters.
All-Star starters? And I'll give you mine as well. Or can we? Let's just make it a little bit quick. Let's make it quick.
Yeah,
Pretty consensus, right? Consensus. Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid front court
yes,
East starters, right?
that's
And I
definitely a
think
given.
consensus, the starting guard or the lead guard is going to be Tyrese Halliburton, right? Consensus, right? It comes
Yes,
down.
yes, but there's a wavering because as of late they haven't been winning. So you could, if you wanted to, change or replace him. He's definitely an
Um,
all-star. The
yeah,
starters are.
yeah,
He had a great first third of the season, and
yeah.
right now he's been hurt, he's been injured, a lot of losing. Still figuring out. But yes, he's played well enough to make
He's
himself an all-star starter. So
yeah,
yes,
for sure.
he's for sure hands down. So there's one other
Yeah,
position that's up in the air
yeah.
right there,
And
and
it comes.
for it could waver from Donovan Mitchell to Jalen
Mm-hmm.
Brunson to Tyrese Maxey, and then some people, Trey Young or
Damian
DeJounte Murray,
or Damian Lillard.
Damian Lillard. Yeah, for sure, those
All
guys.
right,
But
so who you put in there?
for me, it was Donovan Mitchell. I think he's
Hmm.
just too special. Obviously, he had some injuries, small injuries, nothing major, in and out of lineup some. But with unhealthy Darius and unhealthy Mobley, and them having an 8-game winning streak and beating certain teams and winning and still being pretty good in the East, I'll give him that. My backup was Jalen Brunson or Tyrese. Now Tyrese definitely reserved. Tyrese Maxey, I'm talking about. I would have had Jalen Brunson if not Donovan Mitchell. The way the Knicks have been balling when they got OG, even without OG, he's been healthy all year. I know he's not as flashy with it, but the numbers and the efficiency and the rate that he's doing that, and also leading them to wins, he's definitely deserving of an all-star starter spot. It's just tough when you have guys like Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, and other guys, in front of you that are winning, and Damian Lillard and Tyrese Maxey. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally understand that one. And I'm going to roll. I'll roll with Donovan Mitchell as well. As much as I want to say Jalen Brunson, you make up a good point. The way the Cavaliers have played without Evan Mobley, without Darius Garland, you got to give Donovan Mitchell his props there. He has been holding down the fort. And as of right now, both teams, the Knicks and the Cavaliers, 7 games behind the Celtics in the 4-5 slot. We could be getting a rematch of what we saw last year in the playoffs between those two teams. All right, so officially on both of our ballots, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Tyrese Halliburton, and Donovan Mitchell. Let's go to the Western Conference, where it's going to be a little bit more tricky. All right, let's get down to this. But first, let's get to the consensus.
I think consensus. The guard spots are for sure consensus, and the center spot. Nikola Jokic is the consensus center spot.
Yes, for sure.
At the guard spots, it's got to be Shea.
Yes,
it's got to be Shea and Luka.
Okay, all right. I mean, some people would want to make an argument for Anthony Edwards, but I understand Luka. Hey, are they not? Do they not have the second best record in the NBA?
They are up there. They're doing well. The numbers of Luka's and the numbers of Anthony Edwards.
Yes, for sure. I get it. Yes.
Luka's putting up Michael Jordan numbers.
Yeah. For sure. No, I understand. Yeah. So we'll give it to Luka. We'll give it to Shea. That makes a lot of sense. And obviously Nikola Jokic. Now it comes down to the forward spots, and that's where it gets interesting. You got Kawhi, you got Paul George, you got LeBron, you got Kevin Durant. That's just to name a couple. And then obviously, let me see if there's anybody.
Give me your two. I'll give you my two. I got one you did not list.
I'm going with Kawhi Leonard. Undoubtedly,
Kawhi Leonard for sure. That could be a LeBron conversation, but it's Kawhi Leonard for me. When he's healthy, he's the best two-way player in the game. Undoubtedly, one of the best two-way players we've seen in the game, in the history of the game. So I'm giving him. He's been healthy. He's been balling. He's at the 3 spot. Now the 4 spot, that's the tough one for you.
Yes.
Are you gonna say you're not even gonna think? Go ahead. I want to hear yours first.
It's not fair, but I'm doing it anyway. It's the All-Star game. I'm giving it to LeBron.
Of course.
I mean, year 21 now?
Yeah, he's a captain. I'm going to give it to Anthony Davis.
I can understand that. Go ahead. Give me a reason why.
He's been healthy. Anthony Davis and Kawhi and Leonard, when they're available, there's nobody better offensively, two-way players at their positions. Now, putting LeBron at the 4 for sure. LeBron has been unbelievable. Year 21, yes, he for sure could be a starter. The West is stacked with these two guys that deserve the bonus and been healthy, that have been playing the games. Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis. Yeah. LeBron has taken some games off. AD might have taken a couple, but since last year, he's been the Iron Man of the league since the last playoffs. He has played more games than anybody in the last. So I have to reward him on that, and he deserves. And I think last year, we were considering it was Zion that made it, who missed damn near half the season. Unbelievable. We were considering Aaron Gord, who could have been. We've had Andrew Wiggins in the past. Come on, we could definitely give AD this position. And it just sucks for Bron, because honestly, it's between Bron and Kawhi for me at the 3 spot. But when I have to go availability and the performance level, and obviously, so Bron's been doing 20 years, he could be a starter every year. But I'm gonna go with Kawhi. I think he's just the best two-way player in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Kawhi had that stretch. There was a 12-game stretch where he was averaging over 28 points per game, shooting over 50% from the field, shooting over 60% from the field, over 50% from 3, and over 90% from the free throw line. He was absolutely balling, and is still obviously balling now, as the Clippers are looking like a true elite title contender. So that's Danny's all-star starter in the West. Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Kawhi Leonard, and Anthony Davis. Got to give a big kudos to Anthony Davis. After getting paid this past off season, he has backed it up with his availability and his play so far for the Los Angeles Lakers. All right, guys, we're about to get out of here. Think people got things to do. But before we do that, this weekend is also the NFL playoffs. And I don't know if y'all are like me, but I'm one rooted for Lamar Jackson. I originally was rooting for the Buffalo Bills to make it to the Super Bowl because my brother is a big Buffalo Bills fan. And as we saw this past week, and the Buffalo Bills fans are going through it again. Man, that field goal, that missed field goal got to be a killer. But I'm Danny, I'm of the mindset, and this is interesting too, because I can relate it to the NBA as well. So here's okay. So back in the day, remember when there was Michael Jordan, and then there was everybody else. But damn, Charles Barkley was damn good. Damn, Karl Malone was damn good.
Damn good.
Damn, Reggie Miller was damn good. I'm trying to think of some other
guys that should have won that didn't win. Allen Iverson was damn good.
Damn good. Yeah, damn good. Reggie Miller, damn good. The combination of Sean Kemp and
Gary Payton.
Damn good.
Damn good.
and they never ever won because Michael Jordan was in their way. And who knows, maybe Hakeem Olajuwon wouldn't have won if Michael Jordan didn't retire for 2 years. And I'm afraid, Danny, what might happen here in the NFL is we might forget just how good Josh Allen is. Just how good Lamar Jackson is, just how good Justin Herbert might be, just how good Joe Burrow might be, because Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are just making a historic run of AFC championships, 6 straight, and potentially back in the Super Bowl again. I think that would be his 4th Super Bowl. If he could win, it would be his 4th Super Bowl appearance, and he's already won 2 if he gets back in there. And that type of achievement. Yeah, that type of achievement while shunning out guys like Lamar Jackson, who's been an MVP and is going to win it again this year. A guy like Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen. As much as I respect Patrick Mahomes, I don't want the other elite quarterbacks to not get the love that they want, that they deserve. So for 100%. Me, I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson. I want Patrick Mahomes could win 6 Super Bowls. That's cool with me, as long as Lamar gets one, as long as Joe Burrow gets one. As long as Josh Allen gets one, as long as Justin Herbert gets one.
We don't need everybody to get one. We need a couple of them. I don't need everybody to get one.
But you know what I mean. I don't want the greatness to be denied all because they didn't get a Super Bowl.
They can still be great without everybody getting one. So for me, deep down, the kid in me is rooting for the Niners because I was a Niners fan when I was a young kid. I'm not just a bandwagoner, but the reason why, and you may not know this, but me and Shad is my younger brother. We used to play the football games all the time, the video games. He a Cowboys fan. I say I don't hate the Cowboys, but I'm not a big fan of the Cowboys because he used to kick my ass as a Cowboy, and I was a Niner. I think back then that was the second best team on the game. They had Emmitt Smith, they had Troy Aikman, they had
Michael Irvin,
and then it's like you couldn't stop Emmitt Smith from running a touchdown. And I had Steve Young, Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens at one point, but I had the Niners at that point. So I always
Ricky Waters.
Yeah, I was a Niners as a kid, so I never repped them or continued that. But as a kid, I always liked the Niners. So deep down, I want to see and I feel like they're the underdog, and everybody's on Purdy's ass right now. I'm waiting for him, and I want him to see him play well. But ultimately, which outweighs that, the kid in me is seeing Lamar Jackson get one. So I'm with you on that. I'm going for the Ravens. I want to see Lamar get one. I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs win. I'm tired of seeing Patrick Mahomes. I'm tired of hearing Patrick Mahomes' name. Honestly, and I'm a fan of him. I like his game. I love his game. But I'm just tired of hearing it. I like to see. It's like seeing Golden State win all the time. As much, you're a fan of certain guys' games. It's like, come on, man. We got to get somebody else new in here. We got to get somebody else to get a ring. Somebody else new to ring. So I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah. And if not them, I want to see the Niners get one.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I want to see. I want to see Lamar take down the 49ers again. They've obviously destroyed them in the regular season. I don't know if the Lions can hold up with just how good the Ravens are. It should be a fun one, you guys, and make sure you I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to enjoy the games thoroughly. Cannot wait for Sunday. In the meantime, I will be watching a lot of NBA up until that point. Some big games happening this weekend. So hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll discuss everything that happened when we come back next week. And who knows might take place. A head coach might get fired. Players might get traded. It's been a wild week in the NBA. Who knows? Somebody might drop another 70 burger. Who knows? We'll keep track of it and talk about it next week right here on Inside the Green Room. If there's nothing else you have to say, Danny, it's time to get up out of here.
Read, rate, subscribe, review. You know what to do.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.